Hello and welcome to Celebrate Arts with Shailaja Tripathi, a platform that is all about Indian heritage, craft, and art and culture. I'm so glad to have musician Saskia Rao-De Haas today with us. Saskia plays a unique instrument, Indian cello. Born and brought up in the Netherlands, she discovered Indian music in the early 90s. She trained under none other than the legendary flautist Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia. While pursuing music, she fell in love with India and fellow musician Pandit Shubhendra Rao. She married him and made India her home. Today, she's a revered musician who has performed all over the world, and along with Shubhendra Rao, she's working towards making music accessible to all children in India through the initiative Sangeet for All. Saskia, it's a privilege to have you here. Throughout the 20 years that I have known you, my admiration for you and your music has only grown. But
Thank you.
before we get started, I just want to remind the viewers to like and subscribe to my channel and also hit the notification bell so that they don't miss out on any amazing content shared by me. So thank you, Saskia, for joining us.
Thank you, Shailaja, for having me, and congratulations on this lovely initiative to start a channel. I'm so happy. We need more of these kind of channels for Indian arts and culture. So I'm really, really pleased that you're doing this.
Thank you so much, Saskia. So let us start with a conversation. Uh, Tell us about your journey in Indian classical music. What drew you to Hindustani music, Saskia?
I started the cello when I was 8 years old. And I started it because my grandfather also played the cello, and I loved the sound of the instrument. Now, when I was studying as a student, I found out about Indian classical music while pursuing more of Western classical, actually. So um, I actually changed directions already at that point of time. I got the beautiful scholarship early 90s to go to New Delhi for a year and studied under the wonderful Dr. Sumati Mudadkar, known at that time as a traditionalist who really was one of the very few female vocalists who mastered the Drupad style of singing. So very fortunate to work with her. And what I learned from her was a wonderful approach to the music because of the tradition she came from and the dedication to the music. And the other thing is that this instrument, the cello, is actually a really suitable instrument for the music. She said at that point, she was 76. She said, I wish I was a few years younger and I would have loved to learn this instrument. I used the cello basically as a tool to understand the music as my entry since I was already a cellist. But the discovery of the music um, came through my instrument and with also the change of my instrument. So both I and the instrument developed further and in different directions than what I set out to do. Now, what you see here is a 5 string. 10 resonating strings. So I worked for many years with different violin builders who offered me their wonderful work and craft to create these instruments for me. And finally came to this instrument and different other that I felt were worthy for the name Indian cello. Um, when I came back from India, I changed school in a way, and I learned from the great Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia, who was teaching at the Rotterdam Conservatory at that time, and was the artistic director there for the Department of World Music, which is really a special thing at a Western classical conservatoire to have Indian music taught is indeed a privilege. And I think I was very lucky at that time to have that access and the time to really devote to practice of Indian music while being in the Netherlands. Then, after I finished my master's in both music performance as musicology, I went to India again and met my husband, Pandit Rao, and actually never returned. We stayed in India since 1999. And I started performing here as an Indian classical musician from 2000 onwards, with the first newspaper heading saying, "The cello says hello" in the Hindu. So from that time, yeah, is and has been a really wonderful journey. Yeah.
Uh, did you have to adapt the cello to suit Indian classical music? Did you have to modify it?
You don't have to do anything, but I like the idea of creating an instrument that had different sound colors, like an extra. The normal cellos don't have this extra string. I tuned it differently because it's a very open string. Sa, pa, sa, pa, sa. And the pas can also be tuned to ma or sometimes even tivra ma if there is a rag that doesn't have either pa or ma. Yeah.
Can I please request you to play the instrument to give a bit of flavor to the viewers?
So I'll play a little of rag padip after tuning.
Goosebumps. It was overwhelming for me. Which raga was this?
This is a beautiful late afternoon, early evening rag pilu. Rag pilu.
Okay.
Padip, sorry, rag padip. This is, yes, it has the same notes as pilu, but pilu has a lot more different things. This, yeah. So this is a late afternoon, early evening raga, rag padip.
So thank you so much for introducing the viewers to Indian cello. Here I want to ask you, did you have to navigate some challenges of incorporating a Western instrument into a deeply traditional Indian music framework?
No, the instrument didn't object. You know, it's look, there is always gonna be short-sighted people in this world. Um, Usually, the people who really know the music and understand it are very, very beautifully and accepting of it. I mean, even Tagore described already to his grandson in 1937 that he wrote in a letter that I'm not too excited about you learning the violin. Why don't you learn the cello? I feel it's much more suitable for our music. And you can look it up. It's that letter is there. So, you know, the moment we see music as our property, this is my music, this is my thing, this is, I think we're missing out on some things. Um, the beauty for me was to learn a completely new tradition with all the respect and love for the music and for that tradition. And that's what I've been doing. I don't think you can ever be too occupied with what other people think of your journey. It's, to put it mildly, I think that's a waste of time, right? Um, yes, I think as women, we are sometimes a little sensitive maybe to that, wanting to please everyone. But yeah, as an artist, that's not an helpful thing at all. So I decided quite some time ago, um, love it, like it. It's okay, you know, each their own. So yes, with the instrument, actually, the adaptations, again, you should not feel you borrow something. For me, it was the main thing to really make it my expression. And there was not a conscious process, but I just loved practicing and playing the music so much that I would spend, for those first 10 years in this music, I would spend all my time in it for 10, 15 hours every day. So, um, yeah, there's no rocket science to, you need to put in those 10,000 hours and then make it your own expression, live the music. And that's what I've been doing, both alone and as well together. So, yeah. And in India, I think that's for me really important that we live in India. I'm very happy with that because somehow just the way the Sabjiwala shouts out what he is gonna sell, or you can, or just the whole atmosphere that you can imbibe here. Um, I think it helped me a lot. Doesn't mean you can't play this music in other parts of the world, but it's just really helpful to understand and to live the music in this place. If I would have been in the Netherlands or the US or the UK, you're always in another music. The mainstream is a different one. And here, yeah, it's classical, but it's from here, it's from the soil, it's from the tradition, it's there in the air. And that is, yeah, so.
Very well put. Thank you, Saskia. What was it like to train under the iconic musician Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia? He's a very charming person. Do you have any anecdotes to share?
So many, so many. From my student days in Rotterdam, what I remember is that I would always come in early to be ready for my class. So I would be there around 8 o'clock in the morning in the school, and no one really was there yet. But this happened twice. I came into that building, that institutional kind of old European building. It looked like that, long hallways. And at the end of the hallway, I could hear alone Bansuri. He was already there and he was practicing because he is so dedicated to his music. Every time he has some time, he practices. That is so incredibly inspiring, and to see that kind of dedication in such a great master is also a great inspiration to follow in that way of approaching music. So that was really, really wonderful. Even now, he just performed for a festival we organized in Bangalore in name of Shubendra's father, who was also a pioneer in his way in Bangalore for bringing the sitar there. But just so giving, so kind, and full of humility, because the music he feels is always bigger than him, which, yeah, he is an icon. So, an idol, an icon, really. Yeah.
And I was privileged and honored to witness that performance when he performed in Bangalore. Uh, did he give you any mool mantra, any life lessons that remains etched in your mind forever? Anything that you remember apply to your life, to your music always?
Yes. Two different things that were very early in meeting him. The first, he told me that I should create my own style for my instrument. He said, my guru told me that was the great Annapurna Devi, that she had told him that he needed to create a style that suited his flute, his playing, his instrument, because it was relatively new what he did with the flute. And he said, you need to do the same thing. You need to create a style that suits your instrument, your way of expressing this music. So that is definitely has always struck with me every step in my career. It has struck with me. And the other thing is the kind of very laid back approach that he has. Apart from being that absolute perfectionist, I remember a concert and the person before him took a lot more time than was on the program. So I was actually getting a little, I mean, they should hurry up with you after him. And he said, no, no, don't be like that. I'm enjoying the music. Just sit and enjoy the music. And that is such an important lesson because we so often, you need to wait as an artist. One of the things is, of course, the performance itself, but the other thing is you always wait for when you get to play. And sometimes that wait is long. And to be very matter of factly about it and just be in that moment, that was a very big other lesson for me at that point.
So it's not easy to be an artist. Sadly, the patronage for classical music, dance, theater has reduced over the years. Then what does it take for an artist to sustain himself or herself?
I think there is still a lot of patronage of the arts, um, but it's not enough. It's maybe stuck in a sort a kind of a time warp, which made people have to go to different forms of the music and discover different forms. That's never a bad thing. I mean, it's always a wonderful thing to create new kind of forms of music. And for me, that means composition. I've composed for documentary films, ballets, collaborated with jazz musicians. Half a year ago, I created the whole score for a symphony orchestra. So, for me, in a way, we're going a little away from the solo classical format and more in ensemble forms. Um, Luckily, I have, of course, a wonderful jugalbandi with Shubhenla, which is a wonderful way of expressing classical music as well. But at the same time, we're very aware of keeping our solo performances going as well, because that subtle way of improvising as a soloist, the story you can tell through a raga, um, I hope that will not go away. That is for sure. And in sponsorships and all, of course, they need a show rather than the uplifting experience that this music can give. To highlight that, we need to be creative and find different ways to present classical music. One of such solutions, what we found, is to do that, to take away the show element. So, really make it an immersive experience for the listener. And an experience like that we call a silence concert. I think we spoke about this, where the music is really the central point. It comes from the silence and goes back into the silence. We talk a little bit about the importance of listening, and it's not music for anything, it's the experience of music that is so uplifting that which is why this music right now with such an old tradition is still so alive and changing and organic in a way that each time and era you will see a different shape and form of this music appear. So, to answer your question, yes, it's difficult, but once you find something to say that has meaning to you as an artist, the rest will kind of follow. It might not be easy, but I think if you're true to yourself as an artist, it does help a lot.
Tell us about your Jugalbandi with Pandit Shubhendra Rao, a very senior sitar player, and your husband. You performed together throughout the world in India. How was it to perform with him? And also, both of you run a foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that also?
Yes. our work together as performing artists, it's really wonderful because we live our music together. It's not, day in, day out, we can live together the life of musicians. And for us, that works really, really beautifully well. To travel together, to be inspired by each other. And yeah, it's just really, really wonderful. And I feel really very, very fortunate that we can share this. Yeah, it makes our life as artists a lot more interesting. And also, I think creatively, we are a very good match as well. Both the instruments, the bass notes of the cello and the subtle high notes of the sitar, which in a way, once a reporter said it's a kind of reversal of roles, um, which is also interesting. Um, So together we work a lot both in classical Indian music. As a Jugalbandi, we perform, we compose also, collaborate with different ensembles all over indeed. And now um, one extra ensemble that we created is with our son, because he is a pianist at Berklee College of Music. So the Rao trio, we do a lot of interesting projects as well. And yeah, another thing is the foundation and the music curriculum that I created for children. When Ishan was really young, um, we were very clear that he needed to be deeply grounded and rooted in both Indian classical as well as Western classical. And he started the sitar and the cello when he was about 2. And when he was 5, he said, now I want my own instrument, which became the piano. But I found that there were no really joyful resources for children here in India to connect with their heritage, with their classical music heritage. Um, Sometimes when you respect music so much in art, you put it on such a high pedestal that you can't reach it anymore. And I feel that has happened to Indian classical. So, what I created, I'll just show you because I have it here. I started writing books for teachers in schools that they could use that as resources. So, here we have the story of Tara the Sitar, and she lives in the country of Vadya. Um, it's all the Tad Valley, Sushir Forest, Avanad Plains, and the Ghan Mountains. So the traditional, and here she has her friends. She travels, there are experiments for children about different musical instruments, and they can make their own instruments as well. So this is one of the books. Then we have on Dhwani, the voice development. Because often what happens is in a music class, the foundation is ignored. We start teaching children at a level that is not suitable for them. So that is called music instruction. I want to learn the cello or Hindustani vocal or anything like that. But the music foundation is like learning how to walk or talk. It's like you don't sit a child down for 2 hours. Okay, we're going to teach you how to talk now. It's an immersive, playful experience where they imitate the parents and pick up true environment. So this is really a lot of activities around that. We do mala painting, music and movement with classical ragas, building the voice through different sounds, sound walks. So really a very holistic approach to what music means to anyone really. We put it straight away as a performing art. But if you look at many of your friends, they must think, I can't sing, or I can't paint, or I can't. Mostly what we're teaching in children in schools now about the arts is what they cannot do. Because everything is related to either an outcome through a performance. Whereas the main thing for music is that it's a form of communication. You share it with each other. And that itself is so empowering. I had just a podcast with a neurologist in London about the effects on brain development of music education. And the results are so absolutely amazing that our main role for this foundation is to really find new ways to teach Indian classical music at the foundation, the theory of it, to connect people with it. This is another book, a book on raga and tala, 5 ragas and talas, through a story of a little boy traveling to the land of the ragas, a book on folk music, desi, and then this one is the last one, Shastra. This is a complete music, Indian music history. In a way, a book that I would have loved to be there when I started my journey in it. We're very concise, an overview of the entire history from prehistory to today, tradition and technology. I've covered everything in a very accessible way. Beautiful pen drawings as well. And yeah, so to learn music, to teach music, it should be a joyful experience both for the student but also for the teacher. Because what is happening now, especially in schools and institutes, we're sending in musicians who have no resources given to them, who have no methodology, pedagogy, curriculum. They're supposed to find that out all by themselves. We could do that with an English subject of English or mathematics. Never. So it's really high time we take arts education a lot more seriously. Because it's like Plato said, teach children mathematics, philosophy, and music, but most of all music, because the patterns in music are the key to all learning.
Also, I believe music help in improving mental health. In these chaotic times of social media, I think music can help and heal.
Yes, of course, but that's again, we're putting music for, like popping a pill, listen to a raga, and this will be cured. No, it doesn't work like that because you need to build a sense of aesthetics as well. If you listen to a song which is with very heavy technology for a young child, that won't improve any mental health. Nothing will change there. You need to develop it. You need to put time in the educational part of it. So you had in the West for a long time the Mozart effect. All pregnant women were listening to Mozart in the hope that because that would make their children smarter. Yes, it does. It does because the way of teaching music, it can literally build brain cells. That's the secret of it. The same conversation with the neurologist. Music is stored in many different locations in the brain. The left and right, so the logical as well as the emotional, and the connecting, which is more used in meditation and a deeper insight. So, so much so that through music, if you lose the faculty of speech, you can regain that through childhood songs. So, a person who has Alzheimer's and lost the faculty of speech can still sing the childhood songs. A person who had a stroke can still sing those songs. Why? Because it's stored in a different, at so many locations. So that's where I always feel like music for, it's just so fundamental. It should be just really a part of education from day one for children. Maria Montessori said, don't talk to children, just sing to them. So, yeah, music for is a good thing. It's a good thing that there is a bit more awareness, but at the same time, it is so much more than that. So, yes, of course, yeah, music education really helps in social connections, because before, music is a performing arts, it's a sharing arts, that form of communication. It helps in development of fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, building brain cells. It's literally, the list is quite impressive. So we can highlight things separately from it, kind of, yeah, pick out one element that is your favorite benefit of it. But I think it's proven nowadays that music should have a larger role to play.
So, on that note, I would really like to thank you, Saskia, for joining us. And with musicians like you around, I feel our music is in safe hands. And really grateful for the opportunity. And thank you so much for joining us despite your hectic schedule. Thank you.
Thank, thank you.